the title of the talk is very, very broad, but it's get your React Native app out into the real world in record time. So it's something we do at Theodo a lot. A client comes along and says, we want to build this MVP very quickly. So if we can make an app within a day, or ideally within an hour in that first meeting with them, then it sort of wows them a little bit, and it wins us some credibility, and also means we can make more apps sort of more exciting and more quickly. So yeah, we all work at Theodo. As I said, we're Python, React, and React Native mainly. Before that, I was studying engineering in Oxford, so I learnt to code at Theodo. So that started in PHP, then Python, and the last 6 months in React and React Native. And the way we build apps and sort of software at Theodo is with a lean startup approach. So we try and build MVPs, so we need to release as quickly as possible and kind of release new iterations as quickly as possible as well, which is why releasing apps onto a real device is important for us, because we need to get that feedback very quickly. Otherwise, our business and development model falls apart. So we usually work on 8-week projects, 2 developers per team, maybe 10, 12 features being released a day. So that's 10 or 12 kind of deployments we need to do each day. So the alternatives to what I'm going to suggest, you could use the app stores, you could use Play Store Beta and iTunes Connect and TestFlight. But for us, we found that the feedback time was just too slow. So we spent too much time waiting for it to be uploaded, too much time sometimes for it to be verified. And it wasn't really quick enough for us. For a very old school option, you could send around your APK files and get your client to install them manually, but we've never tried that because I'm not sure that's a sustainable way to get going. So Hockey app was what we used up until recently. So it's very, very close to being what we need. It's built by Microsoft. It's a kind of all-in-one distribution platform. So Microsoft invests about $12 billion a year in R&D, which I found out recently, only behind Amazon and Google. So they put a lot of money into products like this. So it's very useful. But what's happened recently is that they've introduced a kind of newer, sexier version of Hockey app, which they call Mobile Center, which is Visual Studio Mobile Center. We've been using it at Theodo for the last 3 months or so. It's been out as a preview version. So it's been tested. They've added a lot of new features since we started using it. So the projects we started with it on, we're missing half of the features on there because they've added the new ones and we haven't yet integrated them. So it's grown a lot even since we started using it. But last night I had a bit of a shock. So I was on the way home from a work party and I got an email through saying, so from Visual Studio saying, hello and welcome to App Center. So yesterday they actually released the full version of Mobile Center, which they've rebranded to Visual Studio App Center. So it's now a full released version of the same product, and it's going to phase out Hockey app. So anyone who uses Hockey app, your Hockey app accounts will log you into here directly. And anyone who was using Mobile Center, it's the same thing, so you're not losing out. So the only thing that has changed is that it's no longer entirely free. So the preview version, they offered everything for free, which we made good use of. So now they have introduced some pricing, but it's actually still very reasonable, and I'll go through it at the end. So what it offers is a way to build, test and distribute your app all in one place. So you write your code on your laptop, you push it to Git. It's got a webhook there, which triggers the build automatically, runs any npm tests you have, and then if that's successful, it will distribute that to your users who you've set up in the distribution groups. And then in between that, you can also run the functional tests, which I've never done, so I won't go into too much detail on that. But there you can use Espresso and Appium or something to run full functional tests. And then what you also get for free within the same platform is an analytics tool. So you can log events and page views, users, acquisition rates, that sort of thing, all within the same platform. And same with crash reports. So one line in your package.json and you have mobile center crash reports, and you get the native errors coming back again into the same interface. And also it has a push notifications utility for sending push notifications out to your users once you've set up the SDKs within the project. And just to clarify, I'm not a Microsoft salesman at all. I'm purely doing this because we use it a lot to get apps out the door inside 1 hour. And what actually happened is that I just moved house recently, and my flatmate, I've set up electricity and gas bills, and my flatmates are, they owe me for, I don't know, £300 or something for the gas bills. And they don't want to use Splitwise, which we used to use, because they're refusing to download it, but they also won't pay me until I give them a better way to do it. So I said, okay, I'll make an app for that, and we'll see what happens. So we started making the app, and actually what impressed me the most was how quickly we could actually get an app onto their phone. So in about 45 minutes, or definitely under an hour, they had an app on their phone which at least said their name, and told them they owed me, and they have since paid me. So this is kind of where, this is the little project I'll actually show you. So this is the mobile center interface. As you can see, all those things I mentioned are here: build, test, distribute, your crash reports, analytics, and push notifications, all there. So I'll very quickly go through how I made the React Native app itself, and then what I was able to push to Git. So it's React Native in it. At Theodo, we use a human generator called the RN Toolbox, React Native Toolbox. It comes with a lot of about 10 generators included for Redux, React Navigation, setting up with Fastlane, which is what we used to use for deployment. So I still actually used it here because it sets up the build.gradle files nicely. So these are all generators that set up the deployment basically. So that takes 5 minutes once you have your mobile center API key. Then you run React Native link, and these generators have installed mobile center analytics and the crash reporting. So once you run React Native link, they again asks your mobile center API key or your app secret, I think here, and then suddenly the analytics and crash reporting are integrated into your app entirely. And that's the last configuration you have to do. So that's very powerful. Then obviously push to a GitHub repo. Then I'll go through this in the interface in a minute, but to set up the actual build hook that triggers the build, it's all done in the UI. So you go to the build column, you choose to use GitHub, you select the repository, and then it's connected to your repo. You have to configure the branch, again, all in the UI. The only thing that I've found tricky was the code signing, which was you have to set the environment variables in the code, you have to rename the environment variables to be mobile center underscore key store, mobile center underscore key store password. What I'll do is show a half live demo. So I have the app running on my phone already. So I haven't been able to connect it to the screen. So you can see the background's blue, basically. So remember that. And here we're changing the background color to be green, I think. So I don't need to approve, it's mine. So I'm going to merge that to master. And then we'll go over here, and you can see that so this is the builds section in in App Center, sorry, as it's been renamed. This is the build center. You can see I've connected the master branch up, and it's noticed I've just merged my pull request, so it's triggered a build. So that takes about 6-7 minutes. So whilst that happens, I'll run you through the other things we use here. So to actually configure the build, it finds your package.json, it finds the release variants. You can build a branch on every push or build it manually. Again, like I said, you can run your npm tests with a toggle button. Then if you want to set any app names, you can. So split it staging, a little less. And then this was the bit that I got stuck on for a little while. So these variables are available to you as mobile center underscore key store underscore password, and the same for these. And I just had them without the mobile center, so that took a little while. Then, once that's done, you can add people you'd like it to be distributed to automatically. So it's me and my flatmate. So I'll save that. Cancel, and you can see the build is actually running. No. Okay, so the next section, which I'm not using currently, is the testing. So this is where I said you can run your functional tests. You can choose you can have a device configuration. I've got 2 set up here. These are the 4 testing frameworks available. So the tests are run on the server, but you have to trigger them locally. So it's the least kind of integrated part of App Center. But you run this command locally, it sends your tests up to App Center, they're run here. So if anyone does do functional testing, this looks like it could be useful. The bit we use the most, which replaces Hockey app, is distribute. So you can have your collaborators groups, so just the 2 of us. And then these can be tied to those releases, like I showed you in the builds. And what's very new is the stores section. So from here you can actually connect your Google Play and iTunes accounts, and Google Play is the most integrated so far, so you can fully deploy to the Play Store from here. So you can choose your build and click Send to Play Store, and it will be gone. And iTunes seems to be in development, so they're saying if you'd like to know more about this, get in touch, but it is possible. But I think it'll be coming in a month or so. And a bonus that's also included is Code Push, which is Microsoft's technology for JavaScript mobile apps to send changes over the air without having to get users to run an update. So for our insurance app, for example, if a law changes or a price changes, we can send that without having to get users to update. So for the compliance department, it makes them very happy because we can promise the app is always up to date. And it works fine on Android, and the clause on iOS is that you can't make any kind of significant changes to the functioning of the app through your code push. If you're going to bring in a big new feature, you have to go through the classic release route. I don't know what happens if you get it wrong, but I imagine you get taken down and have to fight your way back on. So also we have, what's happening? Crash reports. So these, like I said, are native crash reports, which they so sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're too kind of native, and it's a JavaScript exception which doesn't actually point back to the line in our JavaScript code. I haven't worked out how to improve that at all, but we had some useful ones with Facebook login kept crashing when users were trying it, and that was a native error that showed up here, and that was really useful for fixing. And then again, for free, we have an analytics tool here, so you can see your active users, the daily session durations, and these are all so they can be connected to your production app. This is obviously a staging app, but you have separate secrets for each release of your app, so you can monitor both kind of separately. And what's kind of quite cool is you have this log flow thing here. So if you're trying to debug with a kind of a user sat in front of you and you want to see what's happening, or you want to follow what they're doing, you can say new sessions just started. Yeah, I'm clicking a button on home. So there's about a 10-second delay, but you can see the new events popping up at the bottom, which again, yeah, it's very useful if you're trying to see in real time what users are doing. And the last one, which hang on this laptop, is the push notifications. So you have to set it up within your app as App Center push. I haven't used this, so I won't go into detail on it, but I've heard it's quite hard to get them set up sometimes. So if you want to use push notifications, this could be very useful. So now I'll go back to builds. I'll see what's happening. So you can see the current build here. So waiting for data from the build agent. So it seems to take between about 6 and 7 minutes. Let's see what happens. Okay. I'll see if I can download it. Maybe it's just not coming through to here. Okay. So it's Android. So yeah, uploading one file now. So it's literally uploading. Okay, so it's going to take a couple more minutes. Okay, so while it's doing that, I'll go back and I'll just go through the pricing quickly because I was worried it was going to kind of ruin the product a little bit, but it's all very reasonable. So you get free build time per month, which is enough to test it, but not enough to do anything useful with. So you get about 40 builds per month there. You get the testing, functional testing for a free 30-day trial, but then everything else, distribution, analytics, and crash reporting is all free. And then to actually, when you start paying, it's a similar pricing to Circle CI, which is what we've been using until now. So it's $40 a month for each build container. So for a team of 2 of us, we just need one of those. And then if you're into functional testing, you can, it's $100 a month, which I guess you need to be a little more, you need to want to do functional testing if you're paying that. So the build was successful. You can see it's been deployed to the mobile center store, which I can get here, so I can download. I've got the release note is the commit name in this case. So I'll download it, and okay, so install. Okay, it's gone green. So within sort of 7 minutes, you can have your app on your. For us, it's our product owners' phones, so they're all working in Cardiff at the moment. So we want to just a very smooth kind of transition for them to start using the apps. Which brings me on to, so this is why we use App Center. So it's mainly to wow people with how quickly the app's available, so we can keep, so we can build an app within an hour, have it on their phone. That's number one. But also we can carry on like developing very quickly, giving them the new features very quickly. And new developers who don't have DevOps experience, don't have native experience necessarily, don't need to know any more than Git essentially. If they can Git push, that they can deploy the app, they can analyze it. So there's very little DevOps knowledge needed. And then the analytics and crash reports are included for free. So again, we've wasted a lot of time before trying to set Firebase up, trying to set up crash reporting, when actually, if it's installed as part of the build process, then it's something we can offer to our clients very quickly. And for MVPs, that's very useful to be able to measure what's going on. And what's actually very nice is as many things as possible are centralized. So we have one place to go for nearly everything. Again, that's useful for new developers, that's useful for sharing the project to different teams. And it's what we're hoping to use as we go forward at Theodo, is to move all of our mobile development workflow onto Mobile Center, and hopefully that'll help us develop apps, sort of fully functioning apps, in 4 to 5 weeks, and hopefully wow our clients. So thank you for that. That's so it's appcenter.ms is the new. It's not Mobile Center. It's appcenter.ms. The toolbox we use for generating the deployment is here, generator RN toolbox, and that's my email address there if anyone has any questions afterwards. But if anyone has any questions now, I'd love to take them. Yeah, so the question was, is there support for pre and post build scripts for uploading to Slack? And yeah, the answer is there's 3 places you can hook in a build script. So I think it's very, very pre-build, there's pre-release and post-build or something. So there's 3 places you can hook in a script, yeah. So the question was, what's the sandbox for those scripts? And the answer is I don't know, unfortunately. As I said, our projects have actually been very simple, very vanilla. We haven't had to deal with anything kind of particularly niche around the build process. Sorry. Yes? Question is, does it work for iOS? And yes, it works for iOS. I haven't shown it here because I haven't got a personal iOS account, so I've got an Android phone as well. But you have 2, so you can see that this is the Android version of the app. Then the other ones we have are, so yeah, you have to have a separate iOS and Android, but they can share the same distribution groups, and the only difference is the build configuration. You have to set up the provisioning profiles and the Apple version of code signing as opposed to Android. But yeah. So the question was what's actually in the logging view, and it's only the analytics events. So I've only got one set up, or one custom event set up, which is a button clicked, but you can see, I think you can see start service. So yeah, so only analytics. Yes? Yeah. So the question is, what happens when the build's successful? What happens on your phone? And the answer is you go to the install.appcenter.com website. So it's a separate store for App Center. So these are staging builds that I've shown here. So to release onto the app stores themselves, it's this feature here, which I haven't tested yet. It's quite new. But so they have a staging distribution platform.
How does it work on iOS?
So on iOS, we have the developer certificate, or the enterprise certificate, sorry, and then you have to accept that as a developer, that you're happy for that developer account to access your phone. So it's, again, I've used the developer provisioning profile we use at Theodo, and I haven't run into any issues with that. Okay, cool. So thanks all for coming. I hope that's useful. It's saved us loads and loads of time at Theodo, and I'm hoping it'll really shrink down how quickly we can actually deploy apps. So if anyone would like to any more information on it, then that's my email address there, and I'd love to help. Cool. Thank you.